you all. I hope we get a few more people drift in as we get going. I'm Star. I'm your MC for this evening. Helicon West is Uncensored. It's a public reading series. We regularly host published authors alongside community writers. We invite all levels of skill, ability, and craft. I have a few people signed up for the open mic, yay, so we look forward to hearing from you. If you want to sign up for the open mic and you didn't yet, just come ahead and walk up and do so, or you can tell me when we get going on that open mic part. Helicon West operates on the territory of the northwestern band of the Shoshone Nation. You can find more about us at heliconwest.wordpress.com. Please shut the doors behind you when you come in and go out. They squeak. Just go ahead and give them a crank like Woody did. That's just fine. Hi, welcome. I have a couple of requests for the library. The doors is one. Just go ahead and pull it shut, even though it makes a noise. Isn't it awful? I think they're getting a little bit better, so maybe with enough use, they will finally wear themselves out and start being quiet. There's decaf in the back, and cups. If you want some decaf, please help yourself anytime during the program. Put a lid on and make sure that it's fastened down tight. The library doesn't want their carpets to get coffee stain, Bill.
I wasn't aware it was decaf. Now I'm gonna die.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's decaf. It was nice knowing that. All right, now for our featured reader for this evening. I'm so excited. It's my dear friend, Susan J. Sample. She's a writer in residence at the Huntsman Cancer Institute in Salt Lake City. She guides patients, caregivers, physicians, and staff in writing about their cancer experiences. She invited me to present, Star, a workshop with her when my partner Mitch was wearing out all his oncologists at the Huntsman Center with his insistence on living treatment-free with leiomyosarcoma for 20 years. We were happy to be at the Huntsman Center, he and I, in another capacity, telling our story to others and writing with them, thanks to Susan. Susan just barely retired as a professor of the Department of Internal Medicine at University of Utah. She's a former newspaper reporter, a medical journalist. She was editor of the Health Sciences Report magazine at the University of Utah and was first to interview and profile geneticist Mario Capici. When he won the 2007 Nobel Prize in Medicine, her story was quoted worldwide. She has a BA in philosophy from Whitman College, an MFA in creative writing from the University of Arizona, completed her PhD in communication, focusing on rhetoric, narrative, and medicine at the University of Utah. Her research explores the rhetorical ways physicians and patients use narrative, particularly how physician trainees use narrative when writing about experiences with patients at the end of life. Her books are Trapped in the Bone House, Some Unsayable Blue, Terrible Grace, Voices of Teenage Transplant Survivors. Did you bring books to sell, Susan? Did you bring some books?
A few.
Yeah. She got a few books to sell afterwards. So, Woody, I'll let you put a table there or pull this one over there when we get through with the open mic. Susan is here to read for us, mostly from Trapped in the Bone House, and perhaps to have a conversation with us about how we can write of cancer and its many phases. Please help me welcome Susan Sample. Oh, all right. Okay. So like 20 years or something like that? Okay. Fantastic.
So thank you all for coming. It's great to see you. all of you. I'm going to start out with one, and then I'll kind of use that as give some context. It's called Backstroke is My Strength. Backstroke is my strength, I tell myself, pulling the raft's oars into my chest with a single strong motion. Cliffs rising from the river loom pale as clouds cut through with dark swaths of cold. Days later on the hospital's 4th floor, strips of worn-through black marbled linoleum on the threshold of patient rooms. The mass is darker on the x-ray of her lung, my friend tells me. The second bag of vancomycin drips silently through her IV. Ice packs balanced where her breast was. It's not as quiet in a chemotherapy suite of picked limes, Hickmans, and quartz. I listen to the rhythm of Rituxan infusing my father. His slow drift clicks like an aperture set for a long exposure. One sleeve of his favorite fleece rolled up. He calls it blue, though it is darker, navy perhaps, or cobalt, grayer than the quilt the nurse unfurls from a blanket to cover him with 100 tiny squares tied with yarn azure. Yes, lazure, not the weighted blue of the bowl he ate cereal from as a boy that I found on the shelf in his apartment this morning. I took it down and rocked it in my hands, watching as waves of glaze glisten in sunlight or tears. So this actually was, I was visiting, so the river that I had been on, I would mention, some of you may be familiar, is the Green River through Desolation Canyon. So we went from there, and then I was at Hudson Cancer Hospital visiting a friend, and then with my father. So that was actually, it was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which was his 3rd cancer. And he eventually died pretty much of old age and managed to survive the 3 cancers. But this next poem talks about a little bit after his diagnosis. And this took place in my backyard in Salt Lake, where I was living at the time. Why did I shoot the sky? Every day, standing on a rise in the backyard, arms raised, head lifted, moving the camera ever so slightly, scanning for clouds through the viewfinder, compressing miles into millimeters, knowing with each click I was composing something unreal and gratifying. It's been 10 months since my father's diagnosis. I take in currents of clouds, not the river yard from my tent, dense low cumulus rising into towers and domes that suddenly distend into bulging mounds, stratocumulus unfurling like white winding sheets, heavy, opaque cumulonimbus that eventually must bear rain, sometimes thunderstorms, hail, tornadoes, or maybe just Virga. Each cloud is a prayer, condensing everything I can't find the words for into particles held together by air. And I'm sure some of you have felt that way too when you have the illness. You do things you don't really quite know why. To try and understand in some way. This next one is called Chicago Marathon Remix. And I was in Chicago with a daughter who lives in Salt Lake, visiting her sister, my other daughter, who was living in Chicago at the time, going to school. And we were actually looking for the Salt Lake, we were looking at some bridal dresses for the Salt Lake City daughter. And we kind of see what happens. It was the Chicago Marathon. I did not run in the marathon, so I don't want to take any credit for something I didn't do. I went for a shorter run beforehand. And so then I went to, I don't know if people have been to Chicago, but I was in Boys Town in that area. And so I was watching the marathon from there, which was a wonderful venue to watch it by. And as I'm watching it, I'm by a stage, and this guy's on the stage, I described him, and then this music is playing, and it's Alive by Empire of the Sun. And it's just beating, and it's got these wonderful lyrics, and it's the contrast of everything that was going on with those lyrics. This is what became of it. Chicago Marathon Remix. They're running by me, alive, alive. People, thousands running, running, running. You make me feel so alive, alive. Speakers on the sidewalk, cups of Gatorade, hundreds line the tables. Can you describe to me all the world that you see? Oh, I need it so much. Drag queen in the red tutu winks, blows me a kiss. Freedom is within you, girl. Stopping, leaning on the barricade. Sun warms my back, a borrowed black fleece. World slows down as it goes. Goodbye to last night. Phone call in a taxi. Dad's in the hospital. Again, 1,000 miles away, away. Say hello to the future. I don't want to ever leave. Just stay here on the sideline, loving every minute. So alive, 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 alive. We didn't purchase the dress in Chicago. We just went to a couple of stores. It was a good excuse to go with. But we did buy a dress, and again, it was just this odd juxtaposition. Center of gravity. Romance, style 2557, hangs on the closet door in swirls of ruched organza, stays of a sweetheart bodice, 16 satin buttons cinching waist of the thick and flare silhouette my daughter will soon slip into. Peace of mind rests on the desk, of facts, to whom it may concern, authorizing darling Fisher Family Mortuary to take his remains, embalming, cremation, burial, or refrigeration required within 24 hours. Should my dad pass away while we travel to the ceremony abroad? How hard to be the keeper of forms. So as Starr said, I'm the writer-in-residence at Huntsman Cancer Hospital, and it's really a privilege, and that's kind of a cliche phrase, but I really mean it, to be able to work with people at such vulnerable times, and the vulnerability makes them so open and so wise and so willing to share. And there is one group of patients that in cancer, and we see it now in other disease groups, where they are separating adolescents out. And so it's a group called adolescents and young adults. And it's a distinct group of cancer patients. And it's because, like the transplant patients that I had worked with, they are going through a disease at the same time they are going through major life milestones. So that adolescence, I'm sure all remember, you want your independence. You want your freedom. You want to drive. You want to make your own decisions and not have your parents involved. And you want to just go out and have fun and do things. You're thinking about what's coming next. Are you going to go to school? What kind of job do you want? What is your future going to be like? And relationships, and intimate relationships, and trying to figure all that out while you're also going through and battling with something like cancer. It's tough. So there's a special group that they have, and they have a support group for these patients. And and there's actually a specific physicians that are to deal with them. And I usually work with this group a couple times a year, and they're great. And we're doing most of it on Zoom now, which actually works out really well because that sometimes, you know, you just don't feel really good, and with this kind of group that someone will say, I'm laying down in bed today, and that's all I can do in the Zoom, they're in bed, and it's like, that's great, whatever works for you. So I was it was springtime, and I was trying to think of something to suggest that we talk about and write about. And there was a poem, and it was talking about the edge, the kind of an edge of life. And I was also thinking, because it was spring, of proms and prom dresses. So I thought, and usually that there are mostly young women, not always, but mostly young women in the group. So I thought, well, what if I asked them about proms? You know, we could think about this. But then I wanted to be really sensitive, because that is based on the assumption that everybody goes to the prom. And so I kind of said, you know, we'll talk about this, but then I said, okay, you know, not everyone goes to the prom, and that's okay. I said, I was never asked to a prom. And they just kind of, you know, they all looked at me on the screen, and they're all, what do you mean? You don't have to be asked to the prom. Everybody just goes to the prom now. And maybe some of you know that too. I see some people smiling. You know, it's like, you just go and you have fun, and everybody dances. It's like, oh, okay. So this is what came out of this. And my Spanish is left from 6th grade, so I will mispronounce the title, I'm sure. The translation works really well, though. That translated means, no one can take away what you have danced. And it's a Spanish phrase. And I have the dedication here for Max, Nay, Ellie, and Brooke. Imagine a prom, I say to the girls, eyes without lashes, scalps sculpted by chemo. They live at a crossroads of scars, fingertips tracing tender ridges, palms spread wide across wounds they call, perhaps. To them, prom is a tradition meaningless as ever after. Happily is right now. So what would you wear? On the screen, one young woman rises from her couch, knee pads and comboot boots so I can balance, bright red lipstick, and real fluttery lashes. Another gestures, her hand seeming to reach across the ridge. I twirl in a skirt of tie-dyed silk in all different colors. I'd wear a Grecian toga for camouflage, says the girl who describes her chest concave. Golden gladiator sandals, because I've got bad neuropathy. And I'd wear a wig, bejeweled with lots and lots of curls. The oldest, dark hair falling out a second time, raises her arms higher than her shoulders. My skirt is red and black, a full circle when I swirl. My blouse has spaghetti straps, and I'm dancing with everyone, even my uncle who says he can't. Even me, her hands inviting mine in and out to the salsa beat. Then she breaks away to syncopated shouts. Oh yeah, shining under a starless sky. And I don't write about patients. I want to be very careful about that. This I ended up writing about because I felt they were just bringing me in, really bringing me in with them. And so I sent the poem to everybody and said, I wrote this, I hope this is okay, please let me know. And they were fine with it. And so it was an amazing session we had. There's another one that I wrote, and it's not so much about this patient, but it's what he said. He was describing his experience. He'd been out on the streets, and he got addicted, and he was gone. His wife divorced him. His kids didn't see him, and he felt. And then he was diagnosed with cancer, head and neck cancer, which was not unusual for the kind of addiction that he had. And I got a call that he wanted to write some letters. So I was in the hospital, and I went up to his room, and I had all these books with me, saying, okay, he wants to do some legacy writing or something. He goes, I just want to write a letter to my daughters. One letter, and it's to all 3 daughters. So it's like, fine. So I have my laptop, and what I usually do, I work a lot in the infusion center too, and people don't feel really good when they undergo chemo. Maybe some of you have had that experience or been with someone. So I say, but they're there for a long time. So I kind of cajole them into telling stories and remembering different things. And I say, you just do the fun part about remembering and thinking and imagining, and I will do the part where I will transcribe what you say. And then what I do is I shape it and put it into a form, and I use their voice, remembering how it sounded, how they told it, and then what we might have been discussing beforehand. So that sometimes there's some little story cubes that I have, and people will throw those out, and then they will tell a story. So it's obviously that's going to be a story. Sometimes we might read a poem together, so it might sound more like a poem. But he wanted to, and so I went up thinking that I would work with him some. He said, no, here's what I want to say. So he started dictating this letter to me, and then he reached a point, he said, I think that's it. And I was looking down at my count, and I thought it was like 175 words, which that didn't seem like a lot to me. I write way too much. And so I said, well, do you want to, some memories, what were some vacations you remember? And he talked for a while, and then he just said, no, that's it. And so it was like, fine, that's great. So he was going to come back the following week to clinic, and I was going to print the letters out for him. We agreed that I would print them out on pink paper and give him the copies. The next day I got a call from the social worker, and his lab reports came back much worse than they thought. So he was being discharged to hospice. He was not going to be coming back. And she said he probably didn't have a lot of time left. So I ended up overnighting the letters to him. He lived in Austin. And he got them and was able to give them to his daughters and died about 2 years later. But what he said when his story was, it really stuck with me. He said, I was vacant in their life, he, his wife, and his daughters. And it was just a word I didn't select from him. And it just stuck with me. And I kept trying to figure out, how could I write something about it? I knew I had to write something here because I was trying to figure out, what he meant in the whole context of his story, too. And so, this is a poem. It's called Vacant Won't Leave Me. I imagine a house, framing completed, insulation installed, exterior finished, walkways and driveway graded and poured. Inside, casements for doors, missing. 5 years, he said, I was vacant in their life. Wasn't fair how many times I wanted. Accident on the job, meds for pain, then regrets, refills, and more on the street. Cancer kicked me good. It took me back in. My ex, my kids, got to know them as amazing people. When they sit with me, we stop suction saliva. Remember good times? Does that mean we never fully moved out? When drywall is hung, spaces between boards are taped, seams invisible. Just say, I love them. Tell them, he said as I typed. I love you, I love you, I love you. In the final walkthrough, walls, surfaces are inspected, fixtures checked, working and in place. Are his boots, lunchbox still in the closet? Leather gloves on the top shelf holding his shape? Bacon is what we are accustomed to gone missing and wanted always. So, I have two more I'll read here. That hopefully might bring up a little bit more. I tend not to have very cheery poetry necessarily. This one's called After. At noon, I ran along the road, seeking pools of shade under a row of aging cottonwoods, as if their sadness could console what? I cannot name it, only know the feel of it beneath my skin, the chill of sweat once you've reached the end. But here tonight, leaning back into the dusk, my head rests upon the high sagebrush plain. I inhale sky, the unbelievable immensity of it, and feel my muscles, tendons, bones azure, my breath tufts of thistledown. And this one's called After the Funeral. And the canyon in this one is actually Red Butte Canyon in Salt Lake. The daughter in the sleeveless black dress won't let go. Her fingers latch onto mine, greedier than her smooth, thin lips that tremble as she tries to smile. Perhaps in the line of friends that follow, the feel of our flesh in the hollow of hers, she finds comfort, I think, letting her than her father hold on a long time. Days, weeks later, as I pull into the outermost lot near the mouth of the canyon, I feel the gravity of death, how the absence of one makes the bodies of the living so much fuller. Every breath pulls me closer to who I am. Thank you very much. Very much.
Does anybody have any questions or thoughts they'd like to share with Susan at this point? I thought of a lot of things as she was reading, and then I just got so absorbed that I forgot what I wanted to ask.
If I can put this into words, explain, if you felt this, kind of the familiarity and like commonality of the idea of death and holding on to hope. Because to do what you do, you kind of have to live in both worlds.
You're right. You're right.
And that's kind of something I'm getting, that you haven't gotten rid of hope, but you're definitely not blind to the reality.
Thank you. That's what yes. So, yes, and in fact, right now what I'm doing is I am putting together an anthology of writings on hope by people at Huntsman. Patients, family members, medical students, physicians, social workers, all of those people. And I started researching about hope in some of the medical literature too. And so much of it for physicians is about the ethics of hope. That a physician will ask, can I offer a patient hope if I don't think that their treatment is going to work, if they have a really bad prognosis? And that's something that others, I've read nurses who care for critically ill patients, you and maybe some nurses, or other healthcare professionals in the audience. And what I found is that the patients have have such a different understanding and definitions of hope. And it's not a static definition. You know, that a lot of physicians think of hope as this noun. It's something that you have, that you hold on to. But if you think of hope as a verb, something that you do, and hope is something that you live, and it's going to change during your life, and whoever, you know, and if you are accompanying someone with illness or through the dying process. So that's been really interesting. I'm actually going to talk to them on hope in a couple weeks, give a lecture on that. I can send some of that information to STAR. It will be offered through Zoom too, so if you're interested on that. Because I am very interested, you know, in the hope. And how do I hold on to it? I think it's just something that I believe in too. And I think what I try and find in a lot of this writing is that, yes, to be very realistic, what's going on, but to find those images of beauty and of love that are so strong. And to me, that's where life will continue. So that's why I think I think that's a good question.
I try.
Thanks. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you. That was really enjoyable, and it brought a lot of thoughts about that whole cancer scenario. It touches our lives in so many ways. Ways we don't even know. And I just thought some of your phrases and some of your thoughts were just so, they just came into my heart, like that whole Green River and desolation, and then Huntsman. 3 cancers later, you die of old age. That's pretty beautiful. Sometimes we feel we are held together by air. And then that Boston Marathon, hundreds running, and the drag queen being, by the way, we're having some drag queen stories next month, which will be really great, so I hope you can all come. And then being on the sidelines and being so alive while everyone is running. And what about romance, the wedding dress, and a fax from the mortuary at the same time, and how hard to be the keeper of forms. And what about prom? You just go. No one can take away what you have danced. And what about a letter to daughters? Remember, think, imagine. I was vacant in their life, but they took me back in. Tell them I love them. I love you, I love you, I love you. Most important 3 words in the whole time of cancer, because it's always around. My 39-year-old niece just had a double mastectomy. Oh, boy, cancer. It's just too much. And I thank you, Susan, for those beautiful poems. We have open mic next. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Does anybody else want to read who has not signed up? And what is your name?
Chris.
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 Chris?
Mm-hmm.
And Chris. Okay. So that gives us, anybody else? We good? All right, let's plunge in. I'm going to say that first we will hear from Naomi Tim, then Woody Lang, then Ronald Jensen.
Hello, people. I guess just a reminder, I'm sorry, I hope you don't mind, but just a reminder for anybody who doesn't want to be recorded, you just give some kind of signal or wink or something, and then that will not happen. But of course, we hope you're recorded so that people and watching and be amazed at your awesomeness.
Thank you, Naomi, for remembering part of my MC job. You always keep me on task.
All right, sorry guys, I'm doing this on my phone. I know that people do that, but they're probably faster. Hold on. Wait, hold on. Oh, what? It's already open. Okay. All right, I'm getting there. All right, so this is a rough draft of a poem I've been thinking about for a long time, trying to capture the sensations of a particular experience. So we'll see how it goes. It's called Sensations. The light slides like glowing milk under the door. My eyes soak it all in. They can't help it. I have no pigment to protect me, to filter out what I don't need. When it becomes too much, I turn away into the dark. The white sinking counter glow dimly. My eyes find a small orange light just out of reach. A curling iron. The round head will be so prickly when I touch it. This time, it won't be cold, won't be just a round hairbrush. The light, sorry, I don't want to do things. Okay, sorry. My eyes find a small orange light just out of reach, a curling iron. The round head will be so prickly when I touch it. This time it won't be cold, won't be just a round hairbrush. The light and the smell, the warm water smell. My right hand reaches, wraps around the tines. The heat grabs my skin, holds it molded to the round head. My palm tingles, burns, shivers. I grip tighter, wanting to feel my whole hand pricked with a pleasure I don't have words for. Thank you.
I chose this piece that I'm going to read because it features cancer as well. I have lost quite a few people in my life that are really important to me to cancer. And so this piece was, it's very personal to me, so if I get a little emotional, I apologize ahead of time. But it was kind of my attempt to confront my most recent loss, which was my dog that I had for 11 years. She was my sweet angel. She's a husky. She got bone cancer recently, and I had to put her down last month. So this was kind of, I wrote this as we were going through that. So this is my attempt to kind of deal with all of those emotions. It is a short fiction piece, but I will time myself to 7 minutes, and if I go over, if you guys really want me to finish, I can. If not, that's okay. It's called It's Not Time to Make a Change. Fluorescent light refracts off 4 sterile white walls. Pictures of farmhouses, fields, and mountains adorn them, beckoning their viewers to faraway places. A solitary window, shades coated with dust, rests halfway up the wall, granting a view of a mostly empty parking lot 2 stories below. Snow drifts slowly toward the ground to disappear. A cheap door made of beige wood stands across from the window, and a frame painted the same neon white that coats the walls. Stapled to the door, a poster of the human body with no skin stares blankly into the room, various organ systems highlighted and labeled. Mark sits in the corner of one of those stackable armchairs that purposely avoids lumbar support. A small white noise machine buffets him with recorded ocean sounds as he looks out the window at falling snowflakes. Emma sits cross-legged on the examiner's table next to him, paper crinkling beneath her as she fidgets with the tongue of her Converse. She changed back into her street clothes almost a half hour before a man wearing a doctor's coat finally came in to discuss her results. He teeters on a rolling stool before them now, mouthing words neither of them hears. Carcinoma. You have my sincerest condolences. I'm sorry, say that again. The girl's voice pulls Mark back into the room. Miss Walker, it's important that you listen closely. We need to start planning the next steps. I've just informed you that you've been diagnosed with severe adenocarcinoma. We've unfortunately caught it quite a bit later than we would have preferred, so treatment is your choice. You're saying my sore throat is actually fucking throat cancer? Emma breaks in. The doctor nods and silently adjusts his glasses. Esophageal to be precise, but yes, he says. A serrated blade enters Mark's chest, twisting and wrenching cold steel through his heart. Well, Emma says, I guess we can't say we didn't see that coming, right, Marky? She turns to face him in the corner, ripping the paper beneath her. Her smiling eyes poorly conceal what looks like a fetid fog of embarrassment, pity, and most painful of all, fear. Guess who finally wins, she says. Should have quit smoking a long time ago. She cocks her head and smiles at him with a level of sincerity that makes him feel guilty. Her broken smile brought back all their heated fights about her pack-a-day habit. He'd tell her, sometimes loudly, that it cost too much, that it stunk, that it was killing her slowly. She'd respond with that she was worth it, that he smelled good enough for both of them, and that they both knew she rightfully belonged to the 27 Club. She had this special way of mixing facts, flattery, and what she wanted that always made him laugh and give in. They're called cowboy killers, she'd say, and I'm a lady. Then she'd deliberately take a deep drag and make sure to moan with satisfaction on the exhale, grinning like a Cheshire cat. Now, in their tiny room at the Cancer Research Center, her meek smile hurts to look at. He can see in her eyes a desperate attempt to memorize his features. He can see her building a wall. He can see her making her choice. Emma, we could, he starts, but his voice breaks and he finds himself mute. Another word threatens to rip that knife out, so he stays quiet and grabs her hand. Emma squeezes and turns back to the doctor. How bad is it, she asks. Well, ma'am, like I was saying, you're at a later stage, stage 4. We're at the point where minutes matter if you're going to pursue treatment. It needs to be immediate. We can schedule your first appointment today if you like. The doctor begins thumbing through papers she will need to sign. What are my odds without treatment, Emma asks. The doctor stops thumbing and looks over the room with his glasses before answering. It's hard to say. His voice lowers like he's speaking to an incredibly stupid person or an especially smart animal. Young lady, stage 4 means the cancerous cells have spread to your lungs. If you, Emma interrupts him, how much time have I got? He asks. Her mischievous facade returns like his answer doesn't really matter. 2-3 months at best. She jumps down off the examiner's table, still holding Mark's hand, and her momentum drags him to his feet. Let's go get a drink, yeah? She asks. The doctor, who had to roll out of the way to avoid getting kicked, asks, you aren't pursuing treatment then? Emma ignores him, waiting patiently for Mark's answer. He tries to speak, but nothing comes out. He stands there, mouth open, fear and pain paralyzing him and stealing his words. How could she be okay with this? Ocean sounds fill the room as he pauses now to soak in her features. Her pixie cut that she insisted on doing herself because why pay someone to use a pair of scissors? I have scissors too. Her porcelain skin that always burns in the sun. The countless tiny tattoos that dot her arms because she can never decide on one big piece or save enough money to pay for one. The scar on the back of her left hand from when she got too drunk and played a knife game with the warrior's conviction. She can't be okay with this. Mark certainly isn't. Sure, a beer sounds amazing, he finally says. Her Cheshire grin returns and she pulls his arm until they floated past the beige door and into the hall. They run together toward the stairwell. The doctor's voice calls after them, I'm required by law to inform you that without treatment you are going to die. Miss Walker, please take this situation seriously. They don't stop to listen. Emma refuses to waste their time. Stepping out into the parking lot, Mark feels the sting of cold in his nose. He puts his foot up and looks up into a ceiling of gray clouds. The snowflakes are getting bigger fast. He makes a mental note to get the Christmas decorations out. Emma always tries to put up the tree by late October. An early snow like this only encourages her. When he looks back towards the car, Emma's feline figure has slinked most of the way there already. She reaches the door and jiggles the handle before he can hit the unlock button. Hurry up, dude. Mama's thirsty, she calls. Her brevity feels to Mark like a tug on the knife in his chest. Silently, he drives them from the hospital to the bar, listening to Emma saying every word to father and son by Cat Stevens. Mark hides his tears by looking out the driver's side window when the Granny's gaze threatens to pass over him. That's actually pretty good. Spot this off. There's a head location.
Thank you, Woody.
Little child, what can I do to make it so you won't be blue? Can you have a fine brush? You know what I mean? Make it about out of space. It's about face. Can help you open and things in your life. So you walk out with all the months. You can have all the months. So I hope I can show my love to you day by day. Now as I do. I'm going to go, look at it, guys, look at me. It's a nice night for me to see. It's a nice smile. I'm telling you this, I'm going to feel like giving him a kiss. He has a nice shirt, he has a nice shoes. I love him so. What he is. The two of us, our lifetime picture. Behind the fence, he's a teacher.
Thank you. Thank you, Naomi and Woody and Ron. Next we have Jon, Becky, and Bill.
Okay, I have two. One I wrote earlier, my inability to take good news and good cheer. But things have been going well. The second, and I apologize, I do it on my phone, so it looks like I'm not paying attention when people are talking, but based on what we heard today from our speaker, I have a pocket full of promises, a blessing of potential bounty, but should I be happy yet? Or is it too early to rejoice? Twinkle, twinkle, little star, who wish I meet with you? Will it go far? Should I brighten up for hope, or keep on my poker face? For stars that bring hope have often fallen in disgrace. In the quiet moments I ponder, should I let my heart wander to hope for hope? A dream anew, even if the sky turns a darker hue. Those skies, in their shadowy gloom, trapped in fear and loss, I would assume. But the dreamer's heart, it's their days not yet done. Where clouds once were, soon comes the sun. For in this pocket, where dreams reside, lies the power to cast aside the fears of falling, the dread of doubt, and have courage to let a seed of hope sprout. I think I will hope for hope, embrace the twinkling light. For every star that falls from grace, there's always one that rises bright. Shine on, dear dreamers. If the starry skies light your way, keep faith in every twinkle, as night will turn to day. Scars are for warriors. You are not a victim. Each mark on your skin, a testimony of the battles won. In every line, in every fold, there lies a story of courage, of grit, of standing tall in the morning glory. Scars are for warriors. You are not a victim. Your wounds, they speak of strength, not of defeat. In the echo of pain, resilience blooms, defying darkness, inviting light into the room. Scars are for warriors. You are not a victim. Your heart beats loud with every scar's embrace. In the depth of your soul, a flame ignites. You rise, you fight through the loneliest, longest nights. Scars are for warriors, and you are not a victim. A reminder of the strengths you own within. In the scars, the world reads your name. A warrior, a fighter, unbroken by the pain.
Okay, I've never done anything like this, so bear with me. I've been on a 2-year journey taking care of my almost 97-year-old mom. And I've just been writing a lot, trying to process my life. So it's kind of, there's names in here, because I'm not all professional, like, I have no filter. I take mom on these car rides every day. It's the only time she's super alert. Driving mom every day, new for her, but same for me. McDonald's, and up the steep hill to Dana and Judy's, checking them out, shoveling snow, leaving her seat warmer on while I do things there. My hands were cold, I forgot my gloves. down the hill, turn right towards First Dam. Oh, Philip died here. There's the hill where there was a slide. That is where Kay Anders lived. Turn left, up 4th North, right at the country club, driving as slowly as possible so she can enjoy each tree. Finally home, every day. She's grateful for the miracle of a heated seat. She wishes it would heat up more quickly. She mentions how delicious her chicken McNuggets are. She told me about her dream of being a famous contest-winning songwriter today. She wanted to remember the song. Here I am, wanting someone to put their hands in my hair and just soothe me for a minute, feeling overwhelmed with fear and shame, feeling like I will never be okay, my body absorbing my shame like a sponge, telling Mom that I'm feeling stressed and I'm scared. Saying it helps squeeze some out. My mind can't talk me out of it, even when it trusts that I'm okay. My body holds onto the shame like life itself. So I shovel snow, sing a song in my head, hold my own hand, or hug myself. Sometimes I just need to sleep. Fuck you, shame. I'm above everything, looking down at the speck that is me in this chair. There's more out there than me. Thank God.
Is it me?
It's you, Bill.
Can everybody hear me? I don't like my... I'm not known for my compassion and empathy, but this one hurt. It hurt badly. I heard about it when I woke up in the morning. She's gone. 27 and a half. She's gone. I was shocked. It can't be true. But I knew it was because of her risky behaviors. She was a great mother. 22 kids. 1 year she raised quads. Bear, 399, is gone, hit by a car. Now, I have another one. This one's called Dipper. I've always been surrounded by different people. Weird, strange, eclectic people. I figured this out when I was in kindergarten. After walking to school, taking off my coat, my mucklucks, my gloves, I walked into the classroom. I placed the box of cards on the counter next to the poorly decorated shoe boxes. Susie, not a real name, informs the whole class, Phil hates us. He didn't write those Valentine's cards. My sister is friends with Cindy. Cindy is my sister who grew up to teach military policemen counterterrorism. She was the aggressor force, and she seldom lost. Cindy had explained to Susie's little sister that I refused to write the cards because I didn't like anybody in my class. And I thought they were dumb. I actually used stupid. And that I thought Valentine's Day was absolutely ridiculous. My mother tried to get me to write the cards. I wouldn't do it. I said, well, I'm going to go outside and think about it. and I went over to Ship Creek. We were living in Anchorage, Alaska, and I didn't get home until I saw my dad's car come home after 11 o'clock. I went in, my dad goes, "Why won't you write the cards?" Dad, I had Sharon, an older girl, look up the meaning of love for me in the dictionary, and I don't love anybody in the class. My feelings don't fit that definition, so I'm not writing the cards. My dad goes, "Okay." Well, the next morning, when I went to school, my mother handed me the box of cards, not a shoe box, not nothing, the cards, and I put them on the counter. I was the pariah of kindergarten for the rest of the year.
Thank you to John and Becky and Bill. I said that I would read a little piece, so I'll do that. I told Susan I would. And I think I'll just read two. One will be very short, and they are called Before and After companion pieces. This one is Last. In the bedroom of my house at 725 East 300 South in Hiram, Utah, when I was 40, I stood at the closet door and could not move. Perhaps I knew this time it was really over. This time I had people to see me through. Perhaps this would end it, the world I had known, though I had tried to leave so many times before. He had found my notes, my chart, my plan. He had stopped me in ways I could not think about as I stood there at the closet door. Perhaps this time it would end with his taking a gun out of the glass front gun cabinet near the living room fireplace, the one our teenage son made in high school shop class, the one with the green felt glued to the slots that held gun barrels against the back of the cabinet. That action, his coming home drunk and taking the gun out, had happened once years ago when I was waiting up for him, cleaning the house, every surface, every recess, every door top and curtain rod, everything that might give me a short reprieve from staring out the sliding glass door to the patio, watching for his lights to come along the highway, listening for his truck to pull into the garage, the heavy garage door opening, the mechanism sliding along its track, his truck door closing, his footstep on the threshold, that time when the back door to the dining room opened and he bleared into the house. I knew there wouldn't be a way to take back my not being sound asleep in bed, pretending to be sound asleep in bed, and maybe it wouldn't have mattered. He had drunk enough to imagine anything. "What are you doing up?" Did he ask me that? When he lunged for me, I backed away, careful. I tried to be cheerful. Sometimes that worked. That time, when he grabbed my hair, I didn't think he would drag me there to that glass front cabinet with the guns on safety, loaded and on safety. I didn't think. When he opened the lock, did he open the lock? When he stepped on my neck and took the gun and pressed it next to my face, I thought it was the last time I would leave. I would be gone forever. It wouldn't be up to me. But then somehow it did not end that way. Now here I was at 40, standing at my closet door, unable to move. I had gone to the place the crisis manager told me to go while he was at work. I had answered the questionnaire. Has he ever pushed, hit, tripped, beaten you? Has he ever hurt any of your pets? Has he threatened you? Has he kept you from your family or friends? Has he locked you in a closet? The answers were all yes. The counselor told me to go get only one or two things from my home. Leave everything else there so he does not realize you've left. Leave your makeup and toothbrush. grab only one or two essential pieces of clothing. What could I choose? I couldn't move from where I was standing. He might come home early. How could I escape then? My daughter, 16, came home from school. She saw me standing there, saw the look on my face. She had tried to leave with me the last time and had dodged the heavy glass ashtray he threw at her face. She already had her clothes in the car. She took my bag, threw a sweater and a pair of shoes into it. She took my hand. She said, "Come on, Mom, let's go." Monday, October 21st, 33 years ago, this day in my life. I wonder how many people have a day in which they can start to change their lives and then have that intention become reality. I changed my life on October 21st, 1991, and then I ended up with Mitch. Some of you know who Mitch is. He was my sweetie. That man, with his own life, could let me live mine and not be threatened by my need, ideas, yearnings, successes. And he didn't let me scare him away. And he won over all the people in my life who made the transition from my old life and appeared in my new life. He left us all with the gift of perspective. There's something we all see more clearly now about life in general and our own lives in particular. For instance, my cleaning, organizing, tidying obsession. When my Mitch was here, it felt overwhelming to have so much of his neat stuff all around. I was defeated at every turn in my striving to have a clean place to enjoy. I would clean, organize, and he would bring a load of neat stuff to fill it up with. Cluttered my life with him. Every corner socked in with something he loved, something he couldn't part with, and I was the thing he loved and treasured beyond all the rest. I couldn't have lived in my new life without that kind of love. Our next three readers, and these are the last three readers for tonight, Shannon Ballum, Pam Loosely, and Chris.
Susan, that was wonderful. I just have two poems to read, and they're both about my sister. And the first one's called Cutting Onions. I slice into the white, fumes rise to sting my eyes, tears form. I think of my sister, who likes to cut hers small. I pick up the phone to call her. I catch myself. She won't answer. Not now. Not ever. She has been dead for over a year. This one's called Dear Marcy. Dear Marcy, in the wetlands this morning, a flock of ibis flagged ebony. I miss you. I always knew it would happen, but I wasn't prepared for it to be so soon. We were just texting last night with Al. It was the 10-year anniversary of Dylan's death. You had just had your shoulder replaced. You told us you had been diagnosed with primary progressive multiple sclerosis. I told you I saw a butterfly, a monarch butterfly, and things would be okay. We were supposed to go to lunch the next day. I hope you aren't in pain anymore. I hope you died in your sleep because of a drop in your blood pressure. Al has seen 3 monarch butterflies since she died. A swallowtail thumped its lovely body against the window. I think it was you telling me you're okay. I went to bed so I didn't see your last text. I have 2 yellow and black monarchs that come every day. I could watch them forever. My story is called 50 Years of Trying Harder to Live Better. Today I'm reminded that it's been almost 50 years since Debbie Kemp went missing from Beaumont High School in Bountiful, Utah. Every year, for 50 years, I've been reminded that when she died, all of the rest of us did not. This grim reminder puts a unique balance in my life. And it doesn't have to be the exact date of November 8th for me to think of this caring young woman who stopped to help a stranger one Friday night, not knowing she'd become one of his many victims. I was 15 at the time Debbie was abducted and killed. I was a very depressed and confused teenager in a huge high school with hundreds of classmates. Debbie Kemp was 2 years older than I was and a year ahead of me in school. She wasn't in any of my classes that fall, but I recognized her face in photos. She didn't really stand out. She wasn't a cheerleader or a class officer or anything. Like me, she was a bit quiet and ordinary. Also like me, she taught the 3-year-olds at her church. We both had medium brown hair, didn't wear tons of makeup, and dressed modestly. It made my mother sad to think of all the things we did have in common. Mom focused on the fact that it easily could have been me instead. More than a decade after Debbie's abduction, I would read in an Anne Rule novel that Ted Bundy was at the Bountiful Recreation Center before going to Beaumont High School that night. I had narrowly missed being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Just like Debbie Kent and many other girls from Washington, Oregon, Utah, Colorado, Idaho, and Florida. I figure I was within 50 feet and 15 minutes of witnessing the abduction or seeing him race out of the parking lot only yards away from my house. But that's speculating on something that divides 2 girls' lives. I chose to walk home alone from the Bountiful Rec Center pool that night and ended up safe in my bed. Debbie chose to walk a few feet away from her car and died. 2 unconscious choices, 2 very different outcomes. 2 lives at the cusp of youthful energy, 1 sadly cut short. The first months after her disappearance, we didn't know if Debbie was still alive. We all prayed she was, and her family kept the porch light on for years. Police were stymied at the lack of evidence and facts. They had no name to go with the face that a few students and 1 teacher had seen lurking around Beaumont High School and the PRC. It would be a while before Debbie Kent's name would be linked to Ted Bundy, a serial killer still on the loose. It would be more years before there would be any physical evidence of her death. While all the police were gathering evidence and data, I was going on about my life, graduating high school with honors, going away to Utah State University, making and losing friends, trying new jobs. My life, similar to so many others of my own age, held a vast difference. I tried harder to live better because of the shock of realizing that it very well could have been me, but it wasn't me. When times were difficult for me, I often paused to reflect on how this current situation could maybe be a chance to learn or grow. Yes, I was having a roadblock or a devastating life crisis, but Debbie hadn't had any of these. Who was I to complain or be depressed when I had the chance to move on and go forward with my life and my education? Who was I to feel sorry for myself or question any of life's lessons when Debbie would have given anything for a second chance that night? Did her death bring me life? No. But it gave me new perspective. When life wasn't fair and my relationships changed, I reminded myself that at least I still had a life. I picked myself up time after time because of this simple and drastic difference in the lives of two girls. I grew from a confused and depressed teenager into an anxious, confused, and slightly less depressed college student. Then I became a wife, mother, and a single working mom. My path was no smoother, my trials no lighter than anyone else's. But still, I tried that much harder, again and again, to live better and appreciate deeper all the stumbling blocks along life's path. No matter how dark, desolate, or desperate it got for me, I still had my path. Debbie's path and dreams, and possibly her life, ended in that high school parking lot 50 years ago. Horrific consequences for her, humbling for me. I live on, I love, I cry, I taste all that life offers because I can make that choice. I choose to live my life the best I can because she never got that choice. Thank you.